In this video, I'm going to show you how to interact with self-assessment modules or SAMs on DetectedX. So once you've logged into the platform, you see how it's laid out. You have the self-assessment modules over here, lecture series, and quizzes. So you can either go through them and scroll through them like this and find one that you like, or you can actually search one yourself. So we have a whole bunch of things on here. So I'm just going to write in trauma. And you can go ahead and look at the categories of self-assessment modules that we have. In this case, I'll just show you the wrist, but the same thing applies for most of the other ones. So I'm going to open up the wrist module and immediately you're dealt with the images. So think of this as your PACS viewer, what you would see normally in the clinic. You can interact with the images, and the idea here is that you would find the abnormality, if there is one at all, mark it, and then later check your answer. So in this particular case, we have 10 different cases over here, 1 to 10. We have the series over here, which is all actually showed. You can hide the series if you like, or just bring them back in. You can pan around the images. You can zoom in and out, okay, just as you would with any PACS a viewer. You can change the window width and level, and you can see as you do that on the bottom, it actually changes these numbers, okay? But then you have some other tools over here that you can play around with, but may not be necessarily needed for this particular case. You can also invert the images if that helps you to find something. And with each case, there is a case info area where you can actually look at the clinical history. So in this particular one, it's a risk for an adult. It's a male patient, 39 years of age, and it was a road traffic accident. So question is, can I find the abnormality? So idea is you would look around, use the tools that you have on the top row over here. And by the way, you don't have to just click over here. You can actually click the right click on your mouse and you can see all of the different options. There's keyboard shortcuts as well for anything that you want to access quicker. So you will go through this case, and let's say I found a little abnormality over here and I want to mark that. There's two ways to mark it. One using the marker or the freehand marker. The marker is just more of a sort of a general circle that you can put. So for example, I'm going to select the marker and say, I think there is the abnormality. And then you're met with this sort of 5 point scale where think of it as 0, 1, and 2 are below your abnormality threshold, and 3, 4, and 5 are something abnormal and your confidence about them. So let's say I'm pretty confident with this one. I think it's a 4. What type of injury is it? Well, I think it's a bony abnormality. And what type? I want to say I think it's an avulsion fracture, and I can save my answer. And note that when I go on it, you can actually see the answer over here as well. If I've made a mistake and I want to delete it, just bring your mouse right in the middle and see that yellow thing highlight, okay? And once you see it highlight, just click and just delete, okay? So you can delete that if you made a mistake. The other way of doing it is using the freehand marker over here. So this is if you want to be a bit more precise with it. So let's say that circle was a bit too big. I can go ahead and sort of drag my mouse around the area of interest, close the loop, and do the same thing. So bony abnormality, avulsion fracture, and save my answer. Okay. If there is anything else that you see on the other images, please do mark them. If you see more than one fracture, then please do mark those as well. But if there's nothing else that I need to see, then I'll just go to the next case. So I'll go next case, and it opens up in just a second. There you go. By the way, with these series, there's only 3 over here, so no need to really drag any in, but you could if you wanted to. So I could bring the lateral right in the middle if I wanted to, change this over there. But if you want to reset, just click reset and it goes back to normal. So again, case number 2, let's look at the case info. Adult male, 67 years, fall on from a motorbike. Okay, so same kind of injury, I guess, motor vehicle accident. And the question is, where's the fracture? So I'm just going to go ahead. Again, you can interact with the images, zoom in and out. Use my freehand marker. I think there's potentially something over here. So I'm going to circle that area. Okay. And I think I'm pretty confident with this one. I think it's a bony abnormality. And I think it's an intra-articular fracture for this one. So I'm going to save it. Okay. If I see anything else on any other view, I would do that as well. But if I don't, I would leave it. Then the next one. Now, if you don't see an abnormality, then you would just leave it as normal. So let's say I looked at this X-ray and I think there's nothing really there that I think is of note. So I would just leave it. I wouldn't mark it as well. So the same idea, you would go through all of the different 10 cases. In the interest of time, I'm just going to quickly go to the last one and submit my case. And there's always a few questions we ask after the self-assessment module just so we can tailor the results for you. So let's say I'm a radiographer. How many years have you been in this role? 2 years. Okay. I'm going to go next. And this is where you see your results dashboard, which is pretty cool. So you can see your sensitivity, you can see your specificity, your rock scores and all that. And you can compare your results to the same level. So by default, it's a radiologist, but I want to compare myself to another radiographer. So then it's a bit more fair in that sense. Now, the coolest part of this is as follows. So there's a few things before I talk about that. You can actually go to the next module, which it recommends based on sort of how you did. You can download your certificate of completion just to say that you have done this. But the coolest part is the answers. So I'm going to click the answers, and this takes me back to where I had selected. So remember the yellow was the area that I had selected, my answer, and the red is where the actual truth is. Okay, so in this particular case, I got this one correct. However, I did miss another fracture. Okay. So in this one, there was a joint abnormality and a dislocation in there, which I had missed. Now, this is pretty cool because it allows sort of judgment-free learning for a student to go through these cases in their own time, mark where they think is abnormal, and then for them to actually see where that abnormality was. And this exact process, okay, so it says it's abnormal. If it was normal, there would be a green normal sign. You would go through each of these cases, see where you circle. So yeah, that was correct. But see, I missed this one. Okay, so that's an abnormality that I missed. And when I see it now, I'm probably going to look at that area more often to make sure I don't miss it. And the same thing goes in that. So once you've done, you can just click home and you're back to the home page essentially after you've done the SAM. You can always check your progress of this particular one or other SAMs in the past by just going to your profile area, go to completed, and you can see all of the different modules that you have interacted with. You can continue them and continue the progress that you were. Okay. So hopefully that was useful. That's how to interact with self-assessment modules on Detected X.